Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Cucchiara, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Cucchiara.
Welcome in. This is Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. Thank you again for tuning in as our podcasts continue. Again, just a reminder, 5 days a week, we are with you on our podcast. Monday, Mike 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗨 brings you the market via podcast. Mike and I are doing the podcast on Tuesday, and then I am solo Wednesday, Thursday, and then I jump in and do a podcast with Bobby and Buddy on Friday. So the objective, once again, to just remind everyone, is to provide you, the consumer, with education and information to help you make wise decisions in and around your real estate. That's the real simple thing we try to do. We'll continue to do that by having good content, great guests, and so on. Just a reminder, if you need any information or support or help in the way of financing, that's what I do. It's my primary way of making my living, is doing financing for people. So if you're looking to purchase a home, if you need a refinance, let me know. I could help you with that. You could reach me at 830-9060, or you could always go to 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘.com. Also, remember, give us a review when you get a chance. We'd love to hear from you, what you think about the podcast. You could go to iTunes, or you go to our website to do that as well. The topic today is really what I'm going to call the new normal as it relates to interest rates. Now that they're up, and I have a feeling most likely they'll go a little bit higher as we roll into 2017. So the new normal is going to be the topic today. What's that mean in terms of interest rates? What should you do? Should you hold off? Is this going to paralyze you? Are you going to be nervous like most people because we are in such a low rate environment for such a long time? I'm going to encourage you to get out of that rut or that routine and get on with your goals and objectives as it comes to real estate, as it relates to real estate, I should say. So we're going to talk about that today. And also, I believe there's going to be a little small window coming up here in January, if you a little blip in the radar, if you will, where I think rates will come back a little bit, retreat a little bit, and there's no guarantee of that, but I believe that we'll see that for sure. So what's the new normal? The new normal as it relates to interest rates, get used to rates in the low 4%. I think that's what you could do, and I'm talking about the 30-year money. Get used to rates now in the low to the mid 4%. I think that's what we're going to see as we roll into 2017. I do think there's a chance that the 30-year money could get up around 4.5% or so by mid or late next year. So, historically speaking, that is a extremely low cost of money still, 4.5%. It really is. We were just spoiled and took advantage of those great interest rates, and I hope many people did as possible, that we're able to do that for sure. But it's the new normal. This is what we have to get used to. I would encourage everyone not to think that rates are going to come back and say, I'm just going to wait. They'll be back down to 3.5 or 3 3/8. I just don't see that happening. My suggestion, move on. If you've secured some good long-term interest rates on your current property, that's wonderful. But don't let this stop you from buying additional properties or strategically moving forward to buy investment properties, moving up, doing the things that you want to do in your life to continue your real estate holdings. I just don't think you should. And let me talk to you a little bit about the little window of opportunity, either for a refinance or if you're thinking about buying. I do think the stock market is oversold a little bit. I do think it's inflated, and we've had such a run-up. We're bumping up against 20,000 here for the last couple of weeks. Who knows if we're going to hit 20,000 on the Dow. Maybe we'll do that by Christmas, after the first year. I don't know when. I do think sometime in January, however. I do feel like sometime in January, I don't know if it's the first, second, third week, I don't really know. certainly the first quarter, but I feel like it's going to be January where we're going to take a bit of a breather. And I could see the Dow, I could see the stock market giving back, 4, 5, 6% possibly. And at that time, it could mean improved interest rates for a short period of time, and it could be just for 2 or 3 weeks. So keep your radar going on the market in January. I do think once we get a little pullback from the stock market and things settle in a little bit, if our 30-year money is at 4 1/8, 4 1/4 right now, we could see it temporarily drop back under 4%. I really do think that's a possibility, maybe 3 3/4, 3 7/8. I do not think, there's no way, it'd be hard for me to believe that it would get down to 3.5 or lower. I just don't see that. But I do see potentially the 30-year money temporarily dropping below 4% sometime in January. So keep an eye on that. If you have a reason to refinance, or maybe you still haven't consolidated that first or second loan, or you're thinking about buying a home, obviously you don't want to time something with the expectation that something is going to happen. You think it's going to happen. You never want to do that. But for planning purposes, keep an eye on the market. If I could help you with any of those scenarios, or I'm running any numbers for you, I'm always here to do that. So that's your window. Keep an eye on January for lower interest rates. I think we'll get a little give back then. But then I believe as the year rolls on in 2017, I do believe in the second, third, fourth quarter, we're going to see interest rates right around 4.5% or so. I just think that is going to be where we're going to lay or stay. And it could be a little higher, a little bit lower, but I think that's a pretty good guess at this point. So really what I want to get to on this podcast today is to move away from kind of the paralyzation and what's going on in the market and keeping an eye. I just feel like the last couple of years with the rates being so low and then the obsession with the election, that people are really kind of hanging on and trying to figure out what I hear a lot, which doesn't concern me as much as it's interesting. I hear a lot of people go, well, I'm going to wait until I see what happens in the Trump administration. I want to wait until I see when he takes office in January. I want to wait until the first quarter to see if any of these policies are really going to take hold. I want to wait to see if there's any international concerns or global concerns that are going to come because of the Trump presidency. I get concerned when I hear those types of things because we have no control over those things. What I would say is stick to your plan, sit down and create a plan. If you want to move up, in other words, if you want to sell your current home and buy a different home, a bigger home, or a home in a different area, just do it. Move forward and do it. And now is a great time to do it. And you might be saying, well, did I miss the boat? No, you didn't miss the boat. It's just a different phase. Be happy, be appreciative that the fact that you took advantage, hopefully, of the lower interest rates the last 7 or 8 years. And if it's time to move up and get a bigger home or move in a different location, then it is what it is. The good news is if you're holding property or you're selling real estate here in the Bay Area, guess what? You're fortunate. You're going to get a nice premium on the sale of your home. The market is still lively. The market's still strong. You're going to have some good benefits there. So the message really is don't get paralyzed. Don't worry about the election's over now. We're done. What's done with that? Now we're talking about, then we were holding on to the electoral votes, and was that going to be okay? And I just feel like there's way too much focus on things that we have no control over. If I had a recommendation for those out there listening, take hold of responsibility of your own life and certainly keep educated on what's going on in the political process, but there's nothing we could do about it. We could vote. We could make our word heard. That's fine. Let's do that. I'm not saying discontinue that. If you have a passion or belief, that's wonderful. But as it relates to your real estate and your investments, move along. Move along. Make the decisions you need to make based on what's best for you, your family, partners, business, life in general. And that's what we really should be grateful for. So that's the message. Do that. Get refocused on planning. I also want to talk a little bit about the new normal in terms of taxes. You've heard me talk about taxes before. We have a great CPA that we have checks in with us every once in a while, and we're going to have him on a podcast here again after the first of the year. It is Byron McBroom, and he does a great job at helping people with their taxes and helping them better understand. And so the new normal also is get as good as you can with what kind of taxes you're paying on these investments you have and your money. And if you need some help in that area, remember, we have some great referrals on this network of shows. We have a great group of people we've worked with for, in some cases on the radio, 6 years, in my business now for 16 years. I have some great real estate agents, financial planners, CPAs, real estate attorneys. We have some people that do a great job with design, contractors, landscaping. If you need any of that help at all, let us be a resource and get some of that information to you as we lead into 2017. You're going to need to do that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're continuing to talk about the new normal. So, yes, rates are up now, but what do we do about it? They're a little bit higher. And then also I mentioned a little bit about the window of opportunity that I believe is going to take place in January. So keep an eye on that. And always remember, you could give me a call and check in. This is 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏 with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back to continue the conversation about the new normal in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit 𝗟𝗡Radiolive.com. That's 𝗟𝗡Radiolive.com.
Hi, this is 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏, host of Real Estate Radio Live and Bay Area Mortgage Planner. In addition to being your home financing expert, please remember you could always contact me for other trusted advisors such as realtors, financial planners, and CPAs. Please feel free to contact me at 408-838-9060. That's 408-838-9060, or email joe@𝗟𝗡Radiolive.com, or visit my website at 𝗟𝗡Radiolive.com for more details.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit 𝗟𝗡Radiolive.com. That's 𝗟𝗡Radiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. Today we're talking about the new normal. Rates are up, and they're going to go a little bit higher in 2017. However, if you weren't with us for the first part of this podcast and you're just tuning in now or maybe catching part of it, is that summary, I believe we're going to have a little window of opportunity where rates are going to come back and retreat a little bit. And we could see the 30-year money a little below 4% sometime in January. So keep an eye on that. And the message today really is get back to getting used to the new normal being interest rates a little bit higher. And that's just the way it's going to be moving forward. We took this long period of time of low interest rates, and I know it sounds repetitive, but I want to just keep talking about the fact that this is just the normal process. When rates go up, they go up fast. They never creep up slowly. And they're going to have a tendency to stay now. I really do believe with the new presidency, and you heard the Fed speak when she talked a couple of weeks ago. She had indicated that they're looking to raise the prime lending rate. I believe it's 3 times is the estimate for 2017. And so for the most part, we haven't heard that language for a while. And even though there was thought that the rate was going to be hiked a little bit more in 2016, it was only taken up once. I really do believe 2 to 3 times next year is going to be very likely. So make sure that you'll hear this on and off for the next couple of months too. I'm really concerned with 2 things. I'm concerned with people that have adjustable interest rates, even if they're fixed for the next year or so. I would take a strong look at converting those into 30-year fixed. Secondly, if you have a home equity line of credit, take a strong look at that. Those payments and rates are going to change drastically now with the prime going up. Every time the prime goes up, your payment will change on those home equity lines. And remember, when that home equity line recasts and it will. Typically, the program's 10 years, and when it recasts, it will change your payment in a big way. So you're going to get a double whammy if you're not careful. If you're in a transition period where your home equity line is going to recast in 2017, and then on top of that, you're going to get 2 to 3 rate hikes, you could really be looking at a payment that's 3 or 4 times what you're making right now on a minimum interest-only payment. So those are the 2 things I would signal out as the new normal. Don't relax and don't feel too comfortable if you have an adjustable interest rate, or even if it's a 5/1 or a 7/1 ARM, and let's say you've already got 3 to 5 years on it. Here's my recommendation. If you have a 5/1, 7/1, 10 ARM, any kind of an adjustable, but it's in its fixed period right now, and it's due to adjust or convert in 2 years or less, I would say consider looking at it and doing something with it now. Here's the reason. Even if it's in the low 3s or mid 3s, and a year from now, that adjusts. It will adjust at least 3%. I'm sorry, it'll adjust potentially. It could adjust at a minimum, at a maximum, I should say. The first adjustment period could be 2%. So if you're at 3 or 3.25%, depending on the market, it could adjust up 2% for the first hike. You could see a 5.25% or 5.5% interest rate on an adjustable rate. And the reason I'm going to talk about this a lot going forward over the next couple of months is because I know people are going to sleep on this a little bit, and they're going to feel a little bit too confident that, oh, I'm not going to worry. They're not going to raise the prime. The rates aren't going to go up. I'm going to be fine. They'll come back down again. It's not going to happen. Things have changed. This is the new normal you'll hear me talking about. So just to summarize as we move on, any adjustable rates, any home equity lines, be careful of those. If you need some help consulting, I could help you talk about those. Talk to your financial planner. Look at some of the tax implications on those as well. All right, what else we have for the new normal as we roll into 2017 is also going to be the purchase. I do think that it is a great time to get out there and make the decision on your purchase. As most of you know, if you've participated in this market, and I'm talking specifically to the Bay Area, if you're listening to this, it's been a strong market the last couple of years. It's really flattened in terms of it's still a bit of a seller's market, but I would suggest that it's more moving towards a buyer's market now. Not everywhere, but in general, you have a little more latitude and a little more flexibility. So my suggestion is, if you are one of these people that were discouraged this year, 2016 and 2015, where you were seeing homes flying off the market with multiple offers, and you just said, I'm not dealing in this nonsense, I'm not participating in this stuff, I'm going to bail out for a while, get back in there and see what you could get. And the analogy I've used before, and I'll use the example again because I think it's great for podcasting and radio to give these examples. If you're competing in a market where we have less competition, again, if you're competing at $1 million home, let's say, and there's multiple offers, it's a crazy market, and they're asking $1 million, and they end up getting $1.1 million. The person who pays for that home paid a $100,000 premium on that home because of the market. It's because of the market. It's because of supply and demand. Now, if you had the temperament and if it wasn't that big of a deal and you had the patience to wait, and now you're back in the market and you're looking at that same home, and because the market flattened and is really kind of a normal market now, and you're not going to get that crazy overbidding, you could get that same house. You could get that same house for $1 million instead of $1.1 million. Imagine the savings of that, and you would say, well, there's no guarantee. Absolutely, there's no guarantee, but I'm giving you an example of what happens in a normalized market. You're going to have an opportunity to bid on homes. You're not necessarily going to have to be super aggressive, and you might even be able to get a contingency offer where they will allow getting in the contract where if you find a home you really enjoy and love, you can make a deal with both sides of the real estate agents to put your home on the market and close with the effect or the contingency of you selling your home. You weren't seeing those types of transactions a year or so ago. You just weren't. They were way, way too aggressive. So back to that example, by potentially, again, this is a hypothetical, by potentially saving $100,000 in a payment in a purchase price is huge. And so the reason I want to bring that up is that even though you're paying a little higher interest rate today than you would have paid a year ago, you're most likely going to pay less for that house that you would have paid a year ago. Does that make sense? So let's say a year and a half ago you paid $1.1 million for a house, but you got an interest rate of 3 3/4. And let's say today you paid $1 million for that same house, but you're paying a rate of 4.125. So your rate's a little higher, payment's a little higher, but you just bought that home for $1 million versus 1.1. So this is not always the case, but it gives you some examples of the difference of when you're trying to manage transactions in an aggressive market versus a normal market. So in 2017, I really believe this, for the first quarter or so, if you had any inkling, if you're a person that's thinking about being a move-up buyer, a first-time home buyer, any kinds of transactions, believe me when I say this, I think the best time to buy is going to be in the first and second quarter of 2017. It doesn't mean later in 2017 it's not going to be a good time to buy, but I do think interest rates will be again higher in the second, third, and fourth quarter of 2017. And you don't want to go out and buy a home just to buy a home, just for interest rates. I get that. But if you are in the planning stages, in the process of considering, and your timing is not so critical, I would say try to, if you can, try to get back into the market in the first and second quarter of 2017. I think you're going to have some good opportunities on the buy side. And the good news is when you go to sell your home, it's still a good market. It's still a good market, but you're going to have more. I really do believe you're going to have more clout, so to speak, on the buy side than most people have seen in a long, long time. All right, we're about ready to wrap things up for this series here. Again, we're talking about the new normal. Just a quick review. The new normal, what's that mean? I believe that rates are going to stay up. They're going to stay up. We're going to have a little window in January, so keep an eye on that, just as a quick summary. If you still are looking for a refinance or you want to consolidate first and second, I would start talking to me or someone who could help you with finances as soon as possible, because I do think we could see rates retreat a little bit in January. And if they do that, it might be a good time to take advantage of that for sure. And the other part of the new normal then, as a summary too, is just get used to getting back to planning in and around your real estate. And I would encourage you not to wait around to find out what else is going to go on in a Trump administration or what isn't going to go on before you make your moves. Take control of your own destiny. Work on your finances, work on your planning, and things will be just fine. This is 𝗔𝗕𝗓𝗧 with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for tuning in today. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.